Shalom. I would like to share with you my criticism of an aspect of the Israeli political system, what I call Israeli shuffleboard, Israeli political shuffleboard. And I'm referring to the ability of an Israeli government, Israeli coalition to shuffle the members of the coalition, the members of the cabinet, according to need. Something a little alien to Americans, because in America we elect a president and we elect members of Congress, and they're just in their jobs and in their positions until the next elections. But in Israel, it doesn't work that way. You have a coalition, which is a group, a majority of the parliament, a group of Knesset members who form what's called a government. And from that coalition, the ministers of the government are chosen, and we have tons of ministers of French fries, milkshakes. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but we have just ridiculous ministries that are made up. There's like 30-odd ministries in this small country just to give people jobs and get them to be in the coalition. And when necessary, the Prime Minister, if he sees fit, he can push people out of his coalition and bring more people in, and even into the inner cabinet as well, which we saw as a prime example in this current Gaza war, this Shmini Atzeret war. And what happened there was that the Prime Minister had a coalition in a cabinet which was fairly so-called right-wing. And then when the war started, that didn't suit his purposes, because a right-wing cabinet and war cabinet would say, okay, well, we were attacked by Gaza, let's retake Gaza. We withdrew from Gaza in 2005, and now they've come and attack us like this. Let's just retake control. That's what a normal self-respecting right-wing cabinet would say. So that cabinet was not acceptable. So, because that's not what evidently the Prime Minister wanted to do. So he simply made a new war cabinet. He brought in people from the other parties who were outside the coalition. He has people observing in the cabinet, in the war cabinet, for example. He brought in Ari Deri, who is the head of the Shas party, religious Sephardi party, which originally had voted for the Oslo Accords and to withdraw from Gaza. The other parties, the Aguda and the other religious parties, which had voted against it, they're not observing, they're not in the war cabinet. So the war cabinet is now skewed so that he can do something different than what his actual government before the war started would have wanted to do and would have allowed him to do. And that's just a crazy thing. It's because we have this undefined government that can take undefined laws of government here that's very fluid and sort of make it up as you go. Things like that can happen, and that's what I'm critical of. Lovingly critical, I hope, but that's what I'm critical of. So I just wanted to explain that, and I hope we can change that in the future. And it's okay if you have a presidential system like in America, it's perfectly legitimate and even praiseworthy if, according to his judgment, the president might change one of his secretaries, secretary of this, secretary of that, secretary of state, secretary of the treasury. He might change that according to needs. So that's his choice, because it's on him. His people are. It's up to him. He'll be judged on what he does as president, and what he does as president, an expression and an extension of that is what his secretaries do, because they're his appointees. But in the Israeli system, it's not like that, because you're bringing in people from other parties. So then, when there's the next election, how do you judge that government? Because it was made up of all these different parties. It was made up of this prime minister and this party and that party. How do you vote? How do you vote yes or no? Say it was good or bad. There's no way to do that. So that it undermines one of the basic principles of democracy, which is that you give people authority for a certain amount of time. You see how they do, and then in the next election, you either approve or disapprove of them by voting for them or voting for someone else. But when you can't isolate a certain individual and say he did this or he did that, and how can you approve or disapprove of them in the next election? So it makes it a very undemocratic, in my opinion, my humble opinion, very undemocratic system. So I hope that helps you explain a little more, understand a little more, and thank you.